The White Rose movement proves that it is more important to fight against evil and risk your life for justice than it is to sit back in silence and go along with the movement that you don't agree with. The White Rose movement proves that a small group of determined individuals willing to risk their lives can fight and overcome evil and save millions.
Our project integrates the theme of turning points in history because the White Rose movement marked World War II history. It was a small group of 6 members: Willie Graff, Kurt Huber, Christopher Probst, Alexander Schmorell, Hans Scholl, and Sophie Scholl, who were an anti-Nazi group fighting against their nation to defeat the Nazis. They were non-violent and enraged by how the Nazis were treating the Jewish people. They could not stand by and watch their mass murder and torture. The members were united against Nazi policies and began writing and distributing leaflets calling on the German people to take action and stop injustice and genocide. They decided to take action and help turn around what people were thinking about Nazis. By drawing anti-Nazi graffiti on the walls, they were committing treason. Their treason could cost them their lives, and it did. Millions of people were imprisoned and executed after the White Rose when they stood up to the Nazis.
Our thesis is about what the White Rose was and what they're doing to try and make a difference, and the outcome of those decisions. These sources have many pieces of information that we have used for our thesis, such as from the White Rose Resistance Group. In the text it states, beginning in the summer of 1942, they write and distribute leaflets calling for opposition to the National Socialists, dictatorship, and an end to the war all over Munich. Supporters joined the resistance group in other German cities, including Professor Kurt Huber. In late 1942, members of the White Rose Resistance Group were sentenced to death and executed by the NS judiciary. Beginning in February 1943, also from Sophie Scholl and the White Rose, the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. The text states the White Rose was a smart endeavor with large consequences. At its core were siblings, Hans and Sophie Scholl, their fellow students Alexander Schmorell, Willie Graff, Christopher Probst, and the professor of philosophy and musicology at the University of Munich, Kurt Huber. Together they published and distributed 6 pamphlets. First, typed on a typewriter, then multiplied via mimeograph. At first, they only distribute them via mail, sending them to professors, booksellers, authors, friends, and others, going through phone books for addresses and handwriting each envelope. In the end, they distributed thousands, reaching households all over Germany.
The thesis explains what the White Rose was, what they did to stop the Nazis, and the outcomes of their decisions. The source we used shows that the White Rose members were trying to stop the Nazis by writing leaflets and distributing them across Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich. In the source, Leaflets of White Rose. There are a total of 6 leaflets created and passed out to students. They also did graffiti in public places that showed anti-Nazi graffiti to inspire others. Also, the leaflets explain how and what the Nazis were doing to the Jews and kept passing on copies of those 6 leaflets. Also, it shows how much effort they put in the leaflets and how much time they spent trying to make a difference and stop the Nazis from overthrowing. In the source, Jacob Smith's statement, White Rose History, January 1933 to October 1943. It shows that the words of the janitor named Jacob Smith, who caught the White Rose and alerted the authorities and stopped the White Rose. In the text, it states that I do not believe that the leaflets that were collected from the floor following the arrest of these 2 have lain in the hallway of the 3rd floor for very long. Since the female student in question had every empty suitcase with her, and since the leaflets were thrown over the balcony to fit exactly inside the suitcase, there can hardly be any doubt that these 2 brought the leaflets in question into the university and then threw them over the balcony into Lichthof.
Our thesis explains what the White Rose is, what they did to try and stop the Nazis, that they stood up and did what they wanted to do. Our source, Hans and Sophie Scholl, were once Hitler youth leaders. Why did they decide to stand up to the Nazis? Explains how many leaflets that the White Rose spread out in their hard work, showing that they put a lot of effort and planning into the leaflets. In the source, it says, appalled by the violence and injustice they witnessed, the Friends returned to Munich, determined to step up their resistance efforts by distributing leaflets throughout Germany and Austria. Ultimately, the White Rose circulated at least 7,000 leaflets in 16 major cities, from Munich to Frankfurt to Vienna to Berlin, conveying the impression that the group's membership was widespread, not just a handful of vigorous students hand-cranking out pamphlets in Munich. This shows how many leaflets were distributed, and it tells us that they didn't just give them out on campus, but they were distributed out to people outside of Munich and off campus, which shows they care about this and why they are part of World War II history.
In conclusion, the White Rose belongs in World War II history, since they were able to send out leaflets throughout the school campus, put up anti-Nazi graffiti, and encourage others to stand up to the Nazis, which made them known in history and will be a huge part of World War II history. This is the end of the White Rose documentary. Thank you for listening.